bring our board meeting in. We're just returned from executive session where no action was taken. And I'm waiting for my computer to boot up. Okay. So I am going to ask Carmen Geyer to give an introduction to our meeting, please.
Great. Thank you, President Methner. Hello and good evening. My name is Carmen Geyer, and I would like to welcome you to the September 23rd, 2021 Board of Directors Board Meeting. This meeting is being presented in person and live streamed via YouTube. Please note that this meeting is open to the public and is recorded. You can listen to all past board meetings by visiting Board Docs through our district website. There will also be a portion of the meeting reserved for community comments. Agenda items will be addressed as listed in the agenda. For in-person community comments, please use the sign-in sheet located at the front door to share your comments. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be called. Before making your comments, please state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. If you are viewing the meeting via YouTube and have submitted comments before the meeting, they will be read during the community comments time. In the future, if you have comments that you would like to share with the Board of Directors, please email Jenny Wilson, the Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, by emailing jwilson@portangelaschools.org by 5 p.m. the night of the board meeting. If you have any concerns about individual district employees or specific complaints that require an administrative response, please contact the Office of the Superintendent directly. According to Washington Department of Health Order 20-03, face masks are required for everyone over 5 years of age while indoors. Thank you, and back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, are you all being able to hear back there? Okay, we'll try and talk louder and maybe get the sound system turned up. There may be some feedback. Bear with us. All right. So with that, the roll call, which it looks like every board member is here, including our 2 new student reps, which is very exciting. So we're going to go right into the flag salute. Ready to begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Which takes us to the acknowledgement of our tribal land. Director Kelly.
We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous lands of the Coast Salish peoples who reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Clown tribes. We thank these caregivers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Thank you. Takes us to our favorite part of the year. We're going to be administering the oath of office to our new student representative. Mr. Brewer is going to swear you in, so you all can just go ahead and stand up and come on over here. Our student rep's job is to sort of be a liaison between us and the public school. And these 2 kids have volunteered to be our voices, the voices of the kids.
And these 2 individuals, I had an opportunity, the board interviewed them last spring, actually early summer, and I had some time with them a couple of weeks ago. Great choices. They're going to be great representatives to our board this year, and we are so happy to have you aboard. So, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name.
I, Gavin,
so solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and laws of the state of Washington
and laws of the state of Washington
and will to do my best judgment, skill and ability, truly and fairly, diligently and partially, perform the duties of office of Port Angeles School District, student representative to the Board of Directors, in and for Clallam County, Washington, such as duties are prescribed by law and policy,
such as duties are prescribed by law and policy.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to 5.01, which is our agenda approval. Is that you? Yes. Yeah, okay. So that takes us to the consent agenda approval. The purpose of the consent agenda is to recognize routine matters that come before the board. What say the board?
I move the consent agenda is presented.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Takes us to distribution of correspondence.
Madam President, we have emergency response binders, a letter from the community member that is also on Friday Notes, district and Lower Elwha Column Tribe Partnership t-shirts, and tickets to the state fair.
Great. Thank you. Now we're going to go into awards, recognitions, and presentations. We have Teacher of the Year recognitions, which is going to be presented by Superintendent Greg Lynch, who's come to visit us. Thank you. And Superintendent Brewer. So,
Mr. Lynch, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, Mary. Come on up here. Before I recognize Mary, I do want to say a couple of very important words to everybody in Port Angeles School District and particularly the community. We've been through some really difficult times these last 18 months. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Mary in a minute, but I wanted to acknowledge some outstanding work by the Port Angeles School District. And it really starts with the board of directors. You've got a great superintendent in Marty Brewer, and absolutely fabulous staff, classroom staff and support staff. And I want you to know that Port Angeles School District, from my perspective, and I get the opportunity to work with superintendents across the state, has really been the tone setter for what right looks like in student learning during this continuing health crisis. And starting last fall, even though the pandemic continues, this school district was used as a model for our region and throughout the state in terms of focusing on the most important thing, and that's student learning. And even through adversity, this school district had students in class for the most part all year long and reduced what we're all learning right now. Is we've got a little bit of a learning loss to make up. But I think it's been mitigated tremendously by the plan that the board approved and by the plan that the principals, administrators, and teachers in the classroom be able to stick to it throughout the entire year, and then this year starting in person for the first time in a long time. So I think it's a credit to the board and the superintendent and the leadership team and everybody in the school district for doing what they've done. I just want to recognize that. Marty, the superintendent, Brewer, actually presented across the state to all the superintendents in terms of what the plan looked like for Port Angeles. And a lot of that plan was copied not only in our region but throughout the state. So just congratulations to the board.
Thank you.
It's also in a good segue, and why I'm here tonight is to recognize excellence at the teacher level. This isn't the first time that I've been here. As Marty and I were talking earlier, I think this is the third Teacher of the Year award for this school district in about the last 4 or 5 years, which is fairly phenomenal. I want to take a little bit of time to describe what the Teacher of the Year program looks like. And so I'm one of 9 region superintendents that support nearly 300 school districts across the state of Washington. And each one of the regions pick the best Teacher of the Year every year to represent the region, in this case, Port Angeles School District. There are over 55,000 teachers in the state of Washington. Mary is one of those 55,000, and she only has 8 other peers in the 8 other regions that were selected for this year's award. So it is a very significant accomplishment. When you can say that you're the best among 55,000 professionals in the teaching profession. That is quite an honor. And so many of you may know Mary. She's been with the district now for 10 years. She's a proud graduate of Washington State University, both in her bachelor's and her master's degrees. She teaches at Dry Creek Elementary School and has done primary, multi-age, first, second, and third grade. And I believe this year, Mary, your focus is on second and third graders. And so she's been recognized, not only because she's been recognized earlier as a National Board Cert teacher, she's also a content expert in delivering elementary education in math, science, and ELA, and she's also participated in a number of committees at the school district level. So she not only is excellent in the classroom, but she's also a great team player across the school district and across the community. She believes in the whole child, and there's a lot of examples of that in terms of understanding trauma-informed education, and we all deal with that a lot lately, particularly with the pandemic, in terms of not having kids in school, and has been an expert in that particular area, and also has led work around diversity. And so when I talk about whole child, it's not just the specific content, it's really all the things that we need to work together on to make education as valuable as it is, I know, in Mary's classroom. So with that, it is my true honor and pleasure to recognize Mary for her particular excellence, and it's a reflection, I think, really what you see in the entire Port Angeles School District. So Mary, congratulations for being a So we'll give Mary a minute or two, please, if you want to say a few words if you want.
Sure. First off, if anybody who knows me, you know that this is my name on this plaque, but it means everything to everybody who has ever taught alongside me, who has ever been in classrooms, who I've learned with. This is all about us. And here in Port Angeles, this is all about Dry Creek Elementary School. And we are here, and we are rebuilding, and we have an amazing principal, Julie Bryant. And I am so proud and so excited to be a part of this rebuilding. And I can't wait for what is to come. And hopefully there will be many more of these in our name, of course, in our district, but bias-wise at Dry Creek Elementary as well, because our students deserve it.
No, I think that'd be great. You know what? We would love to get a picture with all the Dry Creek Dragons who are here.
We'll go to the stairwell and the board, please.
That's a good idea. Oh, the board too. Oh, goodness. All right.
Watch the board.
Yeah. Nobody calls.
Yeah. So I just brought it. I took it elk hunting.
You took it hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Just one. And everyone.
Jenny, did you see the?
Yeah,
I saw,
Okay.
Good to see you.
I was told to wait.
Yeah, that's wait. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you. It's gonna be awesome. License with stuff. You don't have to get your license.
I haven't really. I didn't see anything up close. But if I have to read off this paper,
That's what yeah.
no, I'm in the office.
When I tried to get contacts, and it was costing me so much money just to go in for these activities. You know, like I just cannot figure out how to put them in. And it was just. way cool. Way cool.
I know, I keep looking at it out the corner of my eye.
Okay, well, that was exciting. Now we're going to have even more fun stuff we need. For 802, we have Peninsula Behavioral Health Housing Report. Right here.
Would you like us
If you-
up
I would
there?
love if you go right up there, and then we can get you on record.
Oh no, I do the Cindy Brady thing. Record goes on and I'm like, freeze up.
You'd be great.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm Rebecca Miller. I'm the Development Director at Peninsula Behavioral Health. And this is our Quality Assurance Director. And we're here to talk about the housing project that we've got percolating. It's in the pipeline. And here to answer any questions that you might have. But I first wanted to tell you kind of what it is and what it isn't. Is anybody here familiar with how many houses we currently oversee and have in Port Angeles?
I used to know.
I know, there's Dr. Long, our former board member. So we actually, right now, we house over 30 people in the community. We have a 19-bed assisted living home down on 2nd and Oak, and we have 3 smaller homes that are just integrated in the community. You would not know them from anybody. You might even be living next door. I don't know. Do you think we ever get complaints about these housing? We do, every once in a while. But I'll bet you haven't heard about them in the press. And that's because we're very responsive. And if we've got a problem in one of our houses, we are taking extra care to get out there and give them the support and the care that they need. So, for those of you that don't know, we are right now in escrow to buy the You Motel, which is up on the top of Lauridsen, or on the top of Lincoln at Lauridsen. And I am very happy to report that this is not local money. We're actually going to be bringing in a couple $1 million outside money, being able to hire contractors here, and we're not having to ask the community for money, so we're really happy about that. First of all, we actually applied. There are 3 rounds that the Department of Commerce is doing, and we really thought we had it together to do the first round of funding. But when Department of Commerce called personally Wendy Sisk, my boss, our CEO, and by the way, she's really sorry she couldn't be here. She's on vacation with family, and we all need, to respect that, certainly. But they called her and they said, we absolutely love this concept. It's exactly what we have in mind. But phase 1 was only for turnkey properties. So it meant that we could take ownership one day and the next day start moving people in. And the Allview does need some renovation. They are very supportive of it and have already asked us to participate in some one-on-one just to be sure that the grant is absolutely perfect and that we score as high as possible. So at the end of, because we are already in escrow, we went to the county, and the county and the city of Port Angeles are actually advancing us money so that we can close escrow on time, and that is October 15th. And so then we can, start moving along. We are pretty confident that this grant, when we get it, will be refunded or paid back to the county and the city, at least a portion of it, because we do have to have matching funds. And frankly, the county has said, you know what, we're willing to take the risk. Even if that money doesn't come in, this is so important for our community, we're going to make it happen. So what we're going to do with the You Motel is to create 20 studio units for single, adults, and couples. And exciting 7 2-bedroom units for families with school-aged children. So I want to tell you again kind of what it is and what it isn't. What this is supported permanent housing. We are not going to be housing sex offenders. We will not be housing arsonists. We are not going to be housing people with recent violent crimes. It will be a clean and sober housing project. We also have on-site support in the way of our case managers checking in on a daily basis with our clients, and we are also converting one of the units into a permanent home for an on-site custodian. So they will have 24/7, and that custodian will be trained in crisis and mental health first aid training so that they can really, respond and then know that they can call either our crisis team if they need extra support up at on site.
Can I clarify, custodian meaning resident manager?
Yes.
Not a person that cleans up.
Yeah, absolutely. In my world, I call it a sexton, but so absolutely. And so what the population that we are going to be allowing to move in, we are looking at people that are currently homeless. We all know that we even have families out that are living in cars and that kind of thing. We are also holding we think, this is all on paper right now, but that we have dedicated 4 units for the mental health, for people in the mental health court, because we really hope that this is going to help with recidivism. If we are having people go through, the court system and then okay, release them on the street, go make it on your own, don't think that that's going to be terribly helpful for them. So that's kind of what I have, and I don't, do you have something to add that you think might be?
I'm kind of here to field questions about our clinical services, if you wanted to know about that, what we'll be providing up there. But I know we don't have a lot of time up here, so what else would you like to know?
How does one qualify?
That is the $64,000 question.
Why do I get paid?
Right. Exactly. So that is in development. We haven't figured out all the gatekeepers yet. They will. Our hope is that everybody is going to be in services currently, with PDH. So this is not just, people that we're not affiliated with aren't going to be able to necessarily come into our doors and say, hey, I really want to live there.
So is their rent going to be fully subsidized, or is this going to be a project that encourages them, helps them go out, have a job, and pay part of their rent, right?
I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We are working with Peninsula Housing Authority, and we will be accepting vouchers and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we really feel that people are more successful when they have some skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so they will be, we will do a sliding fee scale.
Right, not just housing, but purpose.
And one of our, I don't know if people know, we actually have 2 employment specialists at the agency. And so that's one of the services that we will be able to offer to the residents up there is, coaching through interview process and that kind of thing. But thank you for the question. It's actually in my notes and I forgot to mention that. So
I got you.
thank you. So I don't know if people know, we're up to 170 positions right now at Peninsula Behavioral Health. We have a much larger footprint than most people know. And we're kind of happy when we're not in the news all the time because it means we're doing our job. So we think we really do a good job at housing. This is not a Tempest situation, where people are coming in and, we've invested in this property. We're investing, this is a multi-million-dollar project, and it pencils out as far as us being able to finance it. We think it's going to be terrific for the community, and I think that some of your students are going to be our residents.
Thank you for the services you provide our families.
Absolutely. We want to give them all the support they need. Some people in our community are suffering. We all know that. And it's not just about a house or a roof. It's really about giving them the support that they need.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good luck on the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're good at doing that. So
We're going to make
we
it
have high
happen.
expectations. for
Yeah,
you.
and if anybody has any questions, Sydney has business cards. I think some of you have, my email or, or Wendy's. Give us a jingle. If you want to take a tour of it as it gets closer, we're happy to do it.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'll leave cards with Jenny over here.
All right. Exciting.
Thank you.
See you in the morning.
As is this, which is we are moving on now to our Student of the Month. Principal Prom is going to walk us through this.
Not working. Good evening. I have a really loud voice anyway, so giving me a microphone is like an act of confidence here that I know how to handle this thing. First of all, thank you, Board of Justice, for having us here this evening. And I believe we have some certificates. Do you have the certificates?
Oh, he needs to.
Well, it's my turn next.
Okay, I'm really just going to turn this off and use my voice because I have a big voice and this works great. Can you all hear me fine? All right. So this evening, it's my honor to honor two of our students, recognize two of our students from Jefferson Elementary who have been nominated by their teachers, by their teachers and by students as outstanding in our 6th grade class, wonderful representatives of Jefferson Elementary and what we hope to achieve in the citizens of our schools. So at this time, if Cooper and Brielle would join me at the podium. Thank you. These students are outstanding in our 6th grade. They've been with our school since kindergarten, both of them, and I'm going to put on my glasses and read what they have said about Cooper. I don't have it on here. Do I have a slideshow? There we go. Cooper is a very hard worker and always puts the extra work to go above and beyond. He's a dependable friend and has a very kind heart. Cooper, we appreciate everything that you do and can't wait to watch you through the rest of this year. And Brielle Whopper. Brielle is a very kind person who is constantly modeling classroom expectations. She expresses patience with her peers and is always willing to lend a hand. We're so appreciative of everything you do and the leadership you provide. Congratulations. Anyone turn to parents? Parents like pictures.
Mrs. Prom, we'd like to get a picture with the families and the board if we could on the stairwell.
All right.
That's why we're down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, your family, I can tell.
All right.
Where is their picture?
I'm loud. I'm just going to run my PowerPoint in here.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, please.
Okay.
So you'll just, there'll be a pickup when I stop.
You're going too slow. I'll push you.
Okay, Rhonda, get moving, get moving, get moving. And plug this when they came through. Maybe. I don't know what this plugs into. I should have. It's all right.
Yeah, you saw it.
It is so dark in here. I know. I hope these come out.
Neighbor that
Perched. Nice. No.
So for the remainder of the meeting, we're having technical difficulties, so the audio system will not be working. So I'm going to ask that any presentation and or board that we raise our voice and try to project to the back of the room. My apologies. We'll get the technical difficulties worked out in the future.
Okay, so, Principal Crum, you're on.
Thank you, and I appreciate being here this evening, and I'm ready to talk about Jefferson Elementary getting off to our start this year. These are just some of the priorities that we put in place this year, and of course, safety is number one. Most of the PPEs and just the safety protocols that we had last year are still in place, with clearly new things happening, right? The 3-foot distancing in the classrooms, we've been able to achieve that in all classrooms. 6-foot distancing when students are eating, if we have to be indoors, but right now, except for like I think one rainy day, all meals are being, both breakfast and lunch are being eaten outside. So the kids are on the lawn, they're spaced out on the sidewalk. So that's been working really well. PE is all outside. Our instructor remains masked. Our band is in the gym, so they're able to spread out. Music is able to socially distance. On her regular stage where she teaches, right now they haven't been doing any singing, so their 3-foot distancing is working. If she moves into singing, there'll be a different kind of mask used, and then we'll have to move into the gym or outside or to the tent that we hope arrives and get that 6-foot distancing there. Classroom setup, our disinfection and sanitation routines are basically the same. Recess protocols. Most of us, I opted anyway, and it's easier for me to have 6 sections at my school or 5 sections. I'm keeping students in their grade level cohorts at all times. So if classes want to mix, it's only in the grade level for work. And at recess, I'm in grade level cohorts. So there happened to be a case there, and we had some. I know that in my 4th grade, I don't have to look any further than my 4th grade, so I'm fortunate in that I'm able to run recesses and do all that without any issues and keep those students cohorted all day long. And then we just continue communication to staff, and at this point, most of this stuff is pretty secondary, right? We've been doing it for over a year and a half, and so the protocols are pretty secondary. The sanitizing hands when they come in and washing hands and keeping masks. And the kids are actually really good. If a mask falls, it's usually because it's too big, so we have to adjust it, but students are not fighting wearing masks. They don't really know any better, the younger students. So that's going well. And of course, all learning is back in person, and everyone's adjusting to being back in the class after, I think we figured 529 days since these little guys have had to sit in a seat all day long. And so that's been, it's bringing its own challenges to the year. And it's taking some adjustment for everyone, for the staff and students, to get used to these long days of students full of classrooms. A classroom full of students again. At this time, I do want to say my counselor is out for the next couple of months, and I was kind of floating alone and a little panicked. And I want to thank Julie for letting me have Miss Martin over here has been in my building for these last 2 months, and I literally could not be running. I could not do this. I could run the building. We could not attend to students the way that we are. The SEL stuff, the meeting with students, the check-in, check-out programs, the things that are happening are incredible, and the supports we're giving to students, and meetings with students, it's got to go to Brittany, and I really am so appreciative of her being in the room, or in the building. Okay, so we started out the year with PD in the building. I have to say we had just a ton of fun. I had this banner made at the top that says, "Welcome to Bistro, Books and Bites," and it was a big banner over our library, and I was trying to think of a way to have some PD for staff. We talked about, universal designs for learning and hitting people where they need to learn, and I really wanted to model that with my staff for their PD. So what I did was this Bistro, Books and Bites. So I set up the entire library like a bistro. So every table had different foods on it. And then when the teachers all came, they got a a cinch knapsack thing, with a few items in it, a journal and some pens inside it. And we counted off, and they worked on each table. So the bite was food, was one of the bites. But the books, I had different books on every one of 10 tables, including a couple for just specific to paraeducators. Everything from classroom management to breaking ground to inclusion to UDL to teacher burnout. So they have all these books, and I created a menu, and the menu had 1 to 10, and you had to write the title of the book. And as you walked around the room, so they had like 8 minutes at every table, and as they rotated, they had to put 3 things that whet their appetite from that book, and 1 thing that was not so appetizing, that maybe they didn't care for as much from that book. And so we spent about 2.5 hours rotating from table to table, and the other bite was that at every single table was a printout of a summary of whatever that topic was. So everyone got to take a bite of that information of differentiation and of classroom management and breaking ground, and so we had excerpts for them to take. And I have to say, they loved it. People wanted to read more books than were there. At the end, you got to choose at the bottom of your paper which book you wanted to read. And so those books are all in order. They get to read the book that they feel is most going to benefit their professional growth and what they might need in a classroom, and they got to identify that themselves. Then we'll come back together in a couple of months, and we'll jigsaw those groups, and then, and there's more UDL coming into it, each teacher gets to present their learning in whatever way they want. You can do a PowerPoint, you can do a speech, you can do a book report, you can do an art project. So I want them to be able to talk about what they learned in that book in any way that they wanted to share it. And hopefully all this model is going back to the classroom and like letting students have some say in what they learned, understanding there's ways to show what you've learned that aren't just pencil and paper. And it was just great. Everyone had a blast. The parents really appreciated having books that were specific to their professional growth. And then there was another day, I don't know if it's on the next slide or not, but there was another day where the, right here, Patricia Buki came up from the ESD, and I had arranged for one of those mornings to be just 3 hours of instruction specifically to how paras can better support students and support teachers in the classroom and just directed at their professional growth. And that also checked off a couple of the modules that they needed to get done in their professional, they got to get those 30 or 10 or whatever it is through the year. So they appreciated that. They learned a lot. They loved having her there. So our PD days were super well spent. These 2 activities in particular were really, really well received by the students. Thanks, Jenny. When students arrived on the first day of school, they were all greeted by our wolf. There was lots of staff out there. Everybody was having a good time. These students are demonstrating. Last year we just had, we only had half the students, right? So we had paw prints painted out there. Now with more than half the students, we had to create more spaces. So we have dots. They're all standing on a dot that are 3 feet apart and 3 feet back so that we can get all students lined up outside their classes. So when they arrive in the morning, every student goes to we have outside doors to every room. They go to their outside doors. They all park on a dot. I have paras stationed around the buildings to supervise. And there's this window from the time they're dropped off at 7:45 to 8. And then at 8 o'clock, teachers open doors and they come in. So that's how we're coming in and keeping the social distancing, and students fall right into line with it. They know what to do. Students are starting their day with, like every other building, with breakfast and reading, writing, math, story, socialization, which is turning out to be a really big thing because they haven't socialized in a long time. So sometimes it's wonderful and it's great, and other times they have no clue and it's not working out so great. So there's a lot of learning how to share, how to talk, how to take your turn, how to sit in the seat, and that's all happening. This is just them outside eating their meals. So this is one little gal, one teacher's bought seat cushions for everyone. Out here, some of them are on dots. You can see another kindergarten class down there, all on dots, all eating outside. In the classroom, that's just showing their 3-foot distancing while they're in class learning. Student supports, in addition to our regular supports, we'll have all the regular supports. Title I staff and paraeducators. Our RTI is partially rolled out now. We fully rolled out. This year, hired an extra para. So one of the paras I had that's really good in math is spending every single day. He hits every single classroom. Students are going through, doing their exit tickets at the end of each lesson. Anyone who didn't get a 3 or 4, their exit tickets are put on a clip by the door. The math paraeducator hits every class every day, pulls those students out for a short, intense lesson on whatever it was that they missed, and then they roll back into their class before their next math lesson. And so we're trying to address everything they're not getting on the day that they're not getting it, so they're not getting further and further behind. So he's super excited. That's working really well. The teachers love it. Then I wasn't done. Our SPED teachers, tutoring, we're trying to get this, if it's approved, for the 100 minutes for our paras. I've already asked teachers to start identifying students for tutoring. Character strong lessons, the teachers, I'll walk into one class and walk into another and see the same lessons going on, the same concepts, so that's great. Daily check-in, check-outs, regular meetings with Miss Brittany, as I was pointing out here. We've had some restorative justice meetings where students all have their little talking stick, and we work around and talk about how they felt, what happened, and resolutions. And then just building on our building and behavior expectations. And this is a lot of the same stuff we've always done. We've moved Dibbles A. We've got all of our Dibbles testing done. We've identified our groups and rolling that RTI out, starting to pull that out next week. We've got some people doing the Fonneson Canal pilot project and going through that right now. But we also purchased just a month ago, got the rest of K through 5, the LLI, the level literacy instruction to help or interventions, so that we can now address all students with that same system. And my Title I teacher works with our paras and continually training them on how to use that system, and we're using that for interventions. The paras, again, like that extra training, and we're just continuing on with the Eureka and using that paraeducator to provide interventions on a daily basis. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. These are pictures from last year. We had a blast this year at our luncheon, and everything that we did was outside, and I forgot to take pictures, but these people are just as happy this year, too. Our welcome back luncheon was outside. We had a great time. Everybody had fun. And the same people are still there, and they're just as happy. So that's and I would welcome any questions at this time.
Thank you so much for doing the individual PD. I think that's so great to let people pick what they need to do.
Thank you.
To grow themselves. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. There's no other questions. Thank you for having me this evening. Yeah. I know, I tried to get out.
No, you were.
That was it.
What are you going to do when it does rain? What are the plans for eating?
Thank you for asking. So I bought, before school started, these Velcro dots and provided blue tape so that they have, some have actually run it on computer graphic, their square footage, but they have mapped out in their rooms with these Velcro dots or blue tape on the walls how to sit students 6 feet away from each other in every classroom. So every classroom has markings at 6 feet apart. If we need to sit inside to eat a meal, they will be 6 feet apart.
So there's Velcro on the floor and then like Velcro on their butts?
No, I haven't gone that far, but I like it. It's often some kindergarten teachers.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
There you go.
And they can't move. Oh, Rhonda, thank you. And thank you for getting it open so smoothly.
Thank you very much for having me. Everyone have a nice evening.
So that takes us to 8.05. Do we want to go there? Okay. It's National, I want to get this right, National Educational Office Professional Week. So we have one office professional with us, Jacqueline Speck. Are you here? There, I see you. You get to be representative. Come on up. You have to represent for your entire work group. Yay! All right, Anyone knows about the secretaries and our office professionals know that is your first line, right? The first line of defense when you come through a door with your kids are the people sitting at the desks. And I'm not kidding, it can make or break a school. And so I'm happy that you came tonight and you get this, and I'm sure that you didn't know you were going to have to be the only one. Right?
You got this.
You should be, okay, you got everything you need?
Yeah, let's
So
do one
thank
more.
you for your work.
One more.
Pardon me? Oh, just kidding.
1, 2, 3.
All right. Everyone else will get a certificate.
And a little bit about our office professionals. Always, as President Methner has referenced, first line, and a school is made or break by, you make or break a school by that presence. And so thank you for that. In addition, this year, with reopening our schools, the work in our school systems now has changed a little bit. It's very, what would the descriptor be? Sometimes chaotic in the morning around COVID responses and testing and contact tracing and calls from parents around symptoms and sickness. It's a whole different workload this year. And I want to go on record with the public, in appreciation of all of our office professionals, and Jackie, you this evening, for taking that workload on, making a difference in the Port Angeles community and schools, and being that welcoming face to get our kids back to school. And so their work this year is much appreciated, very much appreciated by us all. And I am very thankful and grateful that we have such a phenomenal team within our school system. So office professionals, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I didn't realize it was going to be athletic workout. Good for me. Okay. So now.
Don't be shy now.
9. Oh, she's
know
ready.
it's you.
I don't have to call her up.
it's you.
She's that eager to give us her information.
Exactly.
Assistant Superintendent Olson is going to give us our collaborative days report.
Yeah, so it's fun to put together what teachers have been learning about during our collaborative days, but also what we were doing in summer school with our students. So we're going to start off the presentation really talking about our summer school experience with our students. And so if you go to the next slide, if you remember back in May, we were putting together our June 1st plan for what we were going to be doing over the summer, or what we thought we were going to do, and then for the fall. And all of the buildings did a great job thinking about their data, looking at gaps, looking at students that are most in need. And so for the elementary, what they ended up doing is each school created their own kind of jumpstart learning time. So we didn't have it in June, we had it in August, because we wanted them to have a break. The teachers definitely needed a break, and we wanted to kind of, again, get that jumpstart as school started. So we were following our plan. This was part of our plan. And again, if you remember, it seems like this was so long ago, but we were really clear with our guiding principles around our plan, what we were focused on. And so making sure that we're leading with that care and compassion, focusing on our students, ensuring equity for all of our students and families and staff, again, creating safe and healthy environments, and maximizing student learning time in the building. So all of those pieces were taken into view as we created the summer school experience. So you can tell, so the summer learning opportunities at elementary, we called it Jump Start. It went from August 9th to August 20th. It was 4 hours a day. We had teachers at the building, pairs at the building. We had soon-to-be student teachers at the building. Everybody was helping. Stevens did a Jump Start as well from August 9th to the 20th. And again, they were focusing on some of those skills to help them be ready for that transition to Stevens. And then we had a secondary summer school program similar to what we've had in previous years, focused on credit recovery, helping students graduate, and we'll talk more about that. And then we had secondary summer enrichment, which was really fun, and that was offered by Americorps with Michelle Gentry. And we'll look at that here soon, but she was able to offer just some unique experiences created by her Americorps staff. So lots of hands-on things. So if you go to the next slide, you might ask, well, who was impacted by this? Well, there's a lot of impact here. You can tell that for the number of students for K through 12, we're 330 students that participated in some of our summer learning. And you can also see it varies at different schools by grade level. That reason for that is, again, our plan called out by school, looking at your data and what group did you need to focus on the most. And that's what the schools did. And so you can see at Hamilton where their focus was the kindergarten piece. And again, Roosevelt kind of had a little bit of every grade level. So it was just to meet the building's needs. You can also see Stevens, and then you can see the high school reflected there. And we'll get a little bit more into the high school data. First off, Franklin, all of them had a sort of a different feel to it, but Franklin's Jumpstart, which is a big hit for all those who could attend. Like, they were ready to be at school and ready to be students, even if it was in August. That didn't bother them. So again, they really focused on your youngest students, looking at the first and second grade, and you can also tell that they were working on math and ELA. We wanted to see if it made a difference. Right, so they looked at their scores at the end of the year and then compared them with starting the school year. And so they are seeing growth, not necessarily from, everybody. Some just kept their skills the same, which is great, because sometimes over summer you can see a slip back. But while third and fourth graders didn't show gains, they didn't lose anything. And that sometimes is a group that does. Go to the next one. Hamilton, again, they were mostly focusing on kindergarten. They did have some first and second grade students. They were really focused again on building that community, helping them feel safe, focusing on those basic skills that they knew they would need for the fall. Next slide. Jefferson again, the kids loved to be there. Attendance was really good. They were engaged. Everyone was following the protocols. There wasn't any problem with students wearing masks. They were very easily able to follow that expectation. What Jefferson did as well, too, is they decided that the teachers for, the first graders were going to be their kindergarten teachers that they already had. So they didn't have to rebuild that relationship. And so that saved a lot of time. Kids were already comfortable. Not all the schools did it that way, which is fine. But we will also see as we go and plan for next summer, maybe one worked better than the other that we might use. Next one. So Roosevelt, they did a huge theme launch into learning. I think they had almost every teacher and para out there. And so they were doing lots of small groups, a big space theme. I can go to the next slide. They also did a lot of hands-on with their custodians and Mr. Hibbler, who's a para out there. And the kids really enjoyed learning about the hot air balloons. And they're continuing that theme into this year. So it's super exciting. Stevens, we got some student feedback to share. Again, learning skills before school starts is helpful. Good. Being able to learn just about the middle school and just what it's all about. We have those students whose anxiety is so high. They haven't been in school, and then now here they're coming to the middle school. And again, they were ready to be with their friends. They had no problems with math. They wanted to be there. They were missing school. So the next slide. So for the secondary summer school, as you can see on there, it was held over at Lincoln. Cindy Crum did a little bit, but mostly Melissa McBride, who's one of our principal internships. She was able to take that on as a learning opportunity. And so we had 54 students total, and that was a combination of the high school, Lincoln, and Seaview. Students who completed at least one class, 39 of those students. And the number of courses completed from all of those students was 85, which is great. The best part is, as a result of this learning opportunity, we had 4 more students graduate. And so, again, having that opportunity available with adult support so that they could make it over the finish line. And so I was telling you earlier about Americorps with Michelle, and again, her volunteer, or her Americorps staff, they did everything from cooking to like how to change oil, how to crochet, all these different fun things that so many times kids don't have the experience with or have even seen. And so they were able to do usually about 12 students in the class, and they got to know them well, again, building partnerships coming into this next year. So I'll stop there for that part. So that's kind of the summer learning piece, and again, that was directly related to our June 1st plan, and we're using that information as, of course, we're building systems right now at the school. So any questions on those pieces?
What is your gut feeling about next year? I really like the idea of doing summer school right before school rather than right after school. I've always thought that was a great idea for many years.
Yeah, our feeling is definitely it's better in August. Just captures more of the energy, and yeah, everybody's too tired at the end.
I know. I remember.
What are the enrollment numbers this last summer versus the summers before?
You know, that's a really good question. I would have to look, but I would say for elementary that ours is definitely way higher than what we've had before. What we did before is that we had one central spot for elementary summer school, and so that was at Jefferson. And, you know, it was the best thinking at the time, right? We posted positions, teachers applied from all over, and then we invited students. But there wasn't that connection necessarily, because you didn't know who the teacher was going to be, and while you didn't go to Jefferson, you might be nervous. So doing it this way, all the schools, right, could have that ownership. You already have your community, you have staff that the students know, and people wanted to be there. So our numbers, I'll look for you, but I'm sure they are way, way higher than they ever were.
Can I get a copy of your presentation?
Yes, Jenny's going to give it to you.
Can you post it on the website so we can go back and look at it later?
It's already on Friday night.
Oh, yeah, but I'd like it to be on the website because then we can look back at it for years to come. It'd be nice to have the stuff before the meeting so that we could have looked at it.
On the board agenda.
All right, so then there's the adult learners. And they're a tough group to make sure that you're meeting their needs, right? They have so many different needs. And so we had the 4 days before school started, and really our goal was to listen to feedback that they had given to us before. We had had different surveys that had been done. Building principals gave insights. And as a result of the staff survey from May, we knew that teachers were looking for learning around learning loss interventions. Like, what do I do to help students gain the knowledge that they need? We also heard that they wanted to know more about how they could support the social and emotional of the students. And then around culturally responsive teaching. And so that covers things like equity and diversity and making sure we're meeting all students' needs. So with that in mind, it was fun to plan, although in retrospect I had to replan it a couple different times because things kept happening to change it up. But that was great. In the end, I think it ended up being for the best. On our next slide, you can see that day one was a building collaboration day. So the staff was with each other at their buildings. The principals had time to really focus and build that community. Day two, we were focusing district-wide on social emotional learning. And so we had the Character Strong training for K through 12 certificated staff, as well as for the paras. We also brought in some ESD trainers for the paras, and we also did Reimagine Recess. So lots of different ways people were up and moving and getting to see each other. And day three was our welcome back event. And that's where we were all at Civic Field, and you guys were there and got to see all of that. So we had, our focus for the day was equity, diversity, and inclusionary practices. And so we started off our day with Cody Russell from Kids Out Strong and his message, The Science of Hope. We had so much positive feedback from staff who attended, and then his session later was totally full, like he couldn't take any more in there, and people were asking for more. We also then had breakout learning sessions, so we had 13 sessions. 4 of those 13 were facilitated by Lower Ella Palm tribal members, talking about the history, the language, the breaking ground, the experience of walking in our world as a Native American. Very powerful. We had 9 Port Angeles district staff present. We have an incredibly gifted and talented staff. They offered 6 sessions, and then we had 2 community members come in as well. So we did that for 2 rotations. And people loved it, right? They liked the choice. And there was everything. I mean, you could have done some yoga pieces. You could have, again, done a lot of different things with the tribe. There was pieces around how do you have safe conversations around social topics. And then day 4 was back to building collaboration day. So we got to sort of, have the beginning and the end with their building. We started off and then wrap it up so they're ready to go. So for feedback, it's just been really fun and motivating to read that it made a difference. The staff, I don't even think I've read a negative one yet. Really what they want is actually more time to do more of the sessions. And so you can see I put up some feedback from Dry Creek that overwhelmingly, no matter which group you look at, they really want to learn more about the Lower Ella Palm tribe. What you can tell from reading the comments is that there's not an understanding of who the tribe is, of their cultures, of their history. And that's from veteran teachers who have been here like 20 or 30 years. I had them approaching me saying, I don't know why I don't know this. Some of them were taking it home to their spouses who were retired. Were like, I never knew this. That should never happen. And meaning to change that. And so we will respond by continuing to share information with our staff. If we go on to the next one, right, we wanted to create sessions that they could have takeaways to put into action right away in their classrooms. And you can tell that people were thinking about the science of hope. They were talking about being a pathway versus a barrier. They were paying attention, and so it was exciting to see what they learned. If you go to the next slide, which is about what future training you might want, they're saying they want to be more, or work more closely with the tribal. They want to know more about the Prom people and their culture. On the other ones I reviewed the other day, so many people want to know about how to speak the language, or at least the basic phrases. Like, can you imagine if we had a teacher that was in their classroom and they could say welcome and calm? That would be powerful. And so important for our students to be able to hear the language. So if we go to the next slide. And again, this represents, hundreds of surveys. But what do they want to know more about? Inclusive language, how to have safe conversations, how to deal with triggers and de-escalations, the qualm language, inclusionary practices, sharing of the Lower Elwha Qualm tribal songs and stories, trauma response training, SEL, interventions, trauma-informed practices, incorporating more of the Lower Elwha Qualm tribe within our literature and our social studies, and continuing to learn about equity and diversity and how we can provide that within our classrooms and our school district. So you might wonder, well, now what? So what? Well, we had so much fun doing it for that day that our next collaboration day is November 1st. And we had so much positive feedback from presenters and staff that we will have an opening keynote that will be by Carmen Watson-Charles. So she'll do that, and then after that we'll segue to 2 rotations of about 12 sessions again. Most of them will be from the ones that we did here, just because people didn't get a chance to go. But we're also bringing in some new people that couldn't participate in August, but really want to be part of what we're doing. So that's exciting, and so that we can have just that continual learning, but not just a quick drive-by, like, right, we're coming back again, and we're looking at it, and we're learning. And then we'll also be working with the tribe. They'll be setting up, like, box lunches for that day, and they will then, we'll be working on tours so that we can take people to the places that they're hearing about in these different breakout sessions. And so, yeah. I just wanted to end with this. So Wendy Sampson and her group and her team have been working on some welcome signs, and these will be at all of the buildings. But she and her team spent a lot of time really on this part of the welcome. And you haven't probably seen it before, but when you read it, it really speaks to the work, right? It's not way up here, it's down here. And so if I read it, as an academic institution, it's our responsibility to acknowledge the sovereignty and the traditional territory of this tribal nation and their rights protected under the Point No Point Treaty of 1855. The Port Angeles School District is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion by understanding the historical and current experience of Native peoples. Through acknowledgement of the past, present, and future of Native nations helps inform the work we do to build relationships through collaborative partnerships, community service, enrollment, and retention efforts. So I think it's exciting that the tribe wanted to create that and wanted to make it really accentuate what the work is that we're doing here in Port Angeles. So, questions, comments?
Nice work, Michelle.
Now, do all of our teachers have the Breaking Ground book?
Not yet. Yeah, well, we're going to be doing some book studies, getting ready to start those, and then Arlene, Jamie, and Carmen, I think during one of the breakout sessions, they're going to do kind of a question and answer time with having the 3 of them there, so that will be a good piece. But we're planning lots of different things to continue our partnership with the tribe.
The great thing about that's the first day of American Indian Education, Heritage Month. So this is a long time coming. I hope that we continue on this journey. It's only beneficial for our students and our kids and our families. And to change the culture that we have with our elders through the boarding school. So, and that's historic. I mean, that goes on for generations and generations. So, I look forward to watching that.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Okay. approval of the PEA 2021-2023 contract.
I move the approval of the contract as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion second. Any discussion? No discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So that takes us next to the approval of the Eastern Washington University College and the High School 21-22 Memorandum of Understanding.
I'll move. Approved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Next is going to be the approval of the SRO Memorandum of Understanding.
I'll move to approve this.
I'll second.
Did you get the second, Jenny? Or the
Katie.
Katie? Okay. So,
Director Mark.
do we have any discussion? All right, no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're just cooking through this. All right. Next is approval of the revised 2021-22 board meeting schedule. This change is just changing the date of our board retreat meeting to what date? We're going to be on October 16th.
I'm going to leave.
Motion,
I'll second.
seconded. Any discussion? This will be a meeting that I will be attending via telephone. I may be able to make actually the first hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I'll listen in the rest of it.
Happens to be on the first day of deer season, but I'll be there.
All right.
I'll be there all day.
Okay, so did we take a vote? Did all in favor? Yeah, we did? We did not vote yet. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Excellent. So that takes us to community comments on non-agenda items. We have none. So that takes us to the board of directors comments. And generally what happens is we start with our student reps. I don't know if you're prepared right now to sort of give a report. Okay. Who wants to go first?
Hi. We are super excited to be here, and at the Port Angeles High School, we're getting off to a really great start. We had our welcome back assembly that the leadership team up there, the student leadership, did a really good job of putting on. We had that outside, so that was a really big success. And upcoming this next week, we have our homecoming. So, we have Buck Tuff and the football game and the float race and all that stuff. This year we added a flag football for girls because we have the Buck Tuff for boys. So we're really excited to add that event. And we also had our club fair this past week. That was a really big success. Clubs have really been struggling with membership. But as clubs have started to have their first meetings, we've really been seeing a improvement in membership. So we're really excited about that.
Great.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be back.
You have to speak up, honey. Look at the fan going. Sorry. You can just look right at us and belt it out.
I'm glad to be back at school for this school year. For the first Friday we were back, we had ice cream, which was really nice. The staff at Lincoln are really nice to the students there. And in my environmental science class, we did an environmental cleanup around campus, which was really cool to do the class. And it was fun to go outside too. It was sunny on the day. And we did some school study projects. That's all.
All right. Thank you. Great job for your first go. Yay. That's very good. So we're going to, I'll just go to run the table. Director Kelly.
So we almost just attended the welcome back event, and thank you to everybody for the great work that went into that. It was great to see everybody. We had Representative Melanie Morgan from the 42nd District here. She came to visit, and she met with some of our high school students and some of our staff up at the garden. She was very impressed by the work that we're doing. The Lower Alabama tribe was there, had a conversation with them about all the work that we were doing. She also had a direct conversation with the students about her being the conduit of helping kids get legislation passed. And she gave everybody her card that said, hey, if you need help, call my office and let's have a conversation. So that was really great. And Melanie used to be a school board director for Franklin Pierce, and she ran and now is a legislator. So I attended the WASDA Government to Government Task Force where we talked about the upcoming legislative proposals, and there's a couple proposals that our committee is concerned with, and so we're reviewing them and trying to do some amendments to that. The OSPI 1 K-12 Government to Government and Legislative Subcommittee, we had a meeting. The Washington State Native American Education Advisory Committee, we had a meeting last week. It's been a few months since we did that. The OSPI 1 Data Subcommittee, we're really breaking down the data and talking about the three groups of how our Native American students are classified, because they're not being classified in the right categories, and so districts don't really have the right numbers about how many Native Americans we have in our district. So that work is going really great. I was appointed by Superintendent Reichel to be part of the Region 16 Comprehensive Center Advisory Committee. In 2019, there was money given by Department of Ed to form these comprehensive centers to help look at the best practices. And so today was our first meeting. There's 4 of us that represent Washington State. So it's Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and then yeah, it's a lot of great work that will be happening. So I'm excited about being part of that committee. And then I attended the BMX race on Tuesday night, which, you know, what a great event. What a great thing for kids, for students. We have about 190 students of ours that participate in that. So that's just great for kids to be doing now and always. It's just for the physical. It's a great family thing. There's so much cheering for all the students. And so it's great. I'm glad to be part of that. So if you'd like to sponsor students, there's opportunities there. And then yesterday I attended the cross-country meet for our student rep forum with many others. And I want to say that Port Angeles came in first. I was very impressed. It was great to be there. It was a beautiful day. And all the students did a great job for our team. And then I want to remind you to vote for your WASDA officers if you've not done that. That's due really soon. And then the WASDA Legislative Assembly happens on October 29th and 30th. So next board meeting we'll be talking about those priorities. And before that, I'll be sending you a template to look at about how to pick our top 10. And please reach out to me. Our WASDA regional meeting is going to be virtual. It's October 23rd. So it was going to be in Sequim, and now it's going to be virtual. So we'll see what happens there. I haven't seen that agenda. And then I just want to inform the board that I have filed to be a candidate for the State Board of Education.
Okay.
So that election will be happening October 1st and the 30th.
That's a real quick.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Well, it wasn't on my bucket list. People kept calling me. Peter Mayer is terming out. The state board has term limits. And so he contacted me, and I'm like, that's not really something I had thought about doing.
So how do we vote? When does that?
So that's, comes through OSPI, and we'll get the ballot like we do every. So there's 2 positions on the east side open, so school board directors will vote on the east side for that position, and there's 1 position open on the west side, and the west side. What's interesting about that I didn't know is that it's done by the weighted vote. So the bigger school districts get more weight than the small. So like us little rural people, we don't get a lot of votes. I mean, we don't get a lot of counts.
Is MJ still on the
Yes. MJ is still there, Mary Pataka's, Patty Wood. Yes. So I'd be very honored to, I don't know if we've ever had anybody from the Peninsula be on the state board. So, anyway. So thank you.
Okay.
Katie. Mark. Oh, I love going after Cindy.
I just like what happened. Don't worry about it.
Every time. No. Let's see. I've been hearing great things from parents about kids being happy to be back in school. So I just wanted to say that it's sounding good. So super exciting. As far as board work, I've been unpacking the General Assembly package. It's like 150 pages So I've been reading through that and kind of prioritizing mine. So, and then today on the WASDA meeting, I attended the WASDA meeting today, and Darby from Tacoma had a really great kind of spreadsheet matrix that she uses to help prioritize each of the board members' priorities when they pick those. I was hoping that we could use that. Yeah. Okay. And it sounds like we're going to discuss that next board meeting. Is that right?
Because then we'll be going to assembly for that. Okay. It's virtual.
Yeah, and who's all going to the assembly? I know
No, we're not going, but we're virtual.
Well, I know, but who all is attending?
I am. Are you going? Are you going, sir?
I'm not going.
Okay.
It's October 23rd, right?
No, it's October 29th and 30th.
Oh, I don't know. I don't look that far. Okay. On that one. Okay. I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah. So you need to decide.
Cindy and I have gone often together when it's in person, and it's nice because then you have somebody else. Like if I was a voting member, I could hand my credentials to Cindy, and she could.
And I can do that, Sarah. I'll be able to do that in the virtual.
So
just one board member votes. Though.
Right. Only one can vote, but it's nice to have somebody to kind of sound things off with, like, what about this? Or if Cindy really felt really strongly she wanted to speak to something, I could hand her the credentials and she could go up and speak, or vice versa. And I think I only ever spoke once, maybe, if I recall. Anyway, so if you want to go, you and Cindy could be helpful to each other, I think, but I don't know if I can. Yeah, so just,
It's a Friday, Saturday.
All right.
Okay, so that's about it.
Okay.
I've taken about a month of personal time, and so I appreciate the patience the boards have with me in the school district, but I'm excited to get back in action, get my head on straight again.
All right, you've had a bit of a rough go, but
I have, well, there now, well, getting there.
You're gonna pass? All right, so I also we were all at the Welcome Back, which was great. Director Long and I did the PACAC, which we have one coming up next week. And no, not next week, Anyway, we're gonna do some field trips and go see some fields that are out and about and sort of start to, synthesize what we actually want in our fields. So we'll be doing that, and I'm not sure what dates those are. It's not scheduled yet. Anyway, so that's on the plan. Gender reviews. I went to the United Way Luncheon out at the casino in Jamestown, and that, I know it doesn't exactly pertain to us, but a lot of our teachers are involved in giving to the United Way, and it was fun. I think we should look at the keynote speaker there. I think would be great to bring in here. He was really good. And last night I participated in the League of Women Voters debate. Mary Hebert and Lola Moses were there. The fourth person running was not. So you can go look at that on their website. So that is about all I've been doing there. Which leads us on to Superintendent Brewer.
Yeah, so a few things to outline today. One, all of you, or most of you, attended the all-district welcome back. Thank you for doing so. And then the 4-day collaborative or cooperative learning was phenomenal. I do want to take this time to say thank you to Michelle. She kind of underplayed it around the amount of work it went, just to plan the event. And then, the event changed many times over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks based on the COVID activity that started to raise across the community and concern of exposure before school and getting kids in school. So Michelle, working with her team, did some phenomenal work to really transform that whole event into something that was very safe and allowed for in-person and virtual options for faculty. So thank you to Michelle for that. First day of school was September 2nd. Great day. had a chance to go out and visit all of the schools over the course of the first few days of school. People are happy. They're happy to be back in school. Students are happy. Staff are happy. So, and a good start. We're now back into regular district business, which means we have a number of meetings that I've been a part of. We've had operations team. We've had our association presidents together to talk about upcoming vaccination mandates. We've had principal meetings. We are starting the policy committee next month. It's the first week of October, so we'll bring the policy committee back on board. Had an opportunity to also, a couple weeks ago, meet with our new student reps and have a conversation with them for a half an hour or so. Again, I think the board did a really nice job of selecting wonderful representatives of each of their schools. Luke did reference this, that next week is homecoming week. Really excited it's been hard. It is really, really hard. And what I want board to hear, what I want the community to hear, the students to hear, in the old world, it was pretty easy to do school events, right? You work with your teacher, you work with the principal, you make decisions, you carry it out. There is so much more complexity to decision making now. It not only includes the superintendent for the purpose of liability and check and balance, but it also includes the Department of Health. And but I'm really proud of our team at Port Angeles High School. And when I say our team, I'm talking about students, I'm talking about student leaders, I'm talking about the administrative team, I'm talking about the teachers and the support staff. Everybody's come together and to, I think, formulate a really nice option for students next week for homecoming, to bring back something that's normal. Now, I'll be honest, as a superintendent, it's a little bit scary, because we're going to be pushing the envelope. We're going to be pushing to do things that we haven't done for 24 months, It's really exciting to, have a homecoming dance, a little bit fearful by Mr. Brewer here, but, it's the right thing for our kids. And I'll tell you what, like our staff, every staff member up at the high school, district staff, are coming together to make this thing work because we haven't had a lot of time to plan. With the COVID activity the way it's going, it's been slow going as to what actually we can do. And quite frankly, it gives us about 2 weeks to plan the whole thing. And so the student government's doing a great job of coming up with some creative things that we can do and have a great time. So I am super excited that next week homecoming's back at Port Angeles High School, and the students will get what they deserve and get back to a little bit of normal. So this week and last week, I had an opportunity to do some guest speaker. I was guest speaker on KOMP Tuesday, I think it was. The week before Seroptimus meeting, I had a chance to speak there. Prior to that, I was at Rotary, so trying to make the rounds, make sure all of our community understand the good work that's happening within the school system, and answer what questions are out there. There's still a lot of confusion around, mask, no mask, vaccination, no mask. It's just really good for me to be out into the community, answering questions, giving presentations, to keep folks in the loop as to the real facts around our school district. But I agree with Director Marks that, the vibe is pretty good in our community around people are generally happy that our students are back in school. And then finally, a couple other items to address. So last year we applied for the Heritage Language Grant, and we had 5 recipients receive, I believe it was about $6,000 each to go back to school and get their language certificate. And believe they're tribal members, so it was a cooperative effort between the Lower Elwha and the school district. We have reapplied for that. We've been granted that again, so really good news there. That's one piece of good news. So continuing to partner with the tribe to help with that initiative and in bringing more language to our community, and as well as, and I think this is just today. Our district applied for a grant with the Strengthening Families grant, which is a part of the Department of Children and Family Services. We applied for a grant for another district navigator that would focus on Native American families, and we were awarded that today. So we will be bringing on our third navigator. Again, really proud of this board. If you remember about, I don't have any concept of time anymore. It's probably about 3 years ago when, this board made a really tough decision that seemed tough on that day, but has really paid dividends to this community. Because anytime the board has to, or considers, a non-instructional type position, it's pretty tough. But this board, took the action to hire our first district navigator, which really focuses in on, the well-being of students and families to be prepared to learn when they come to school. And that has created the scenario where a partnership, a continued partnership with Known Clinic, where they funded, our navigators, and now another opportunity with Children and Family Services, another navigator, making a huge difference. Our navigator and our navigator teams are making a phenomenal district difference in our community and our school. And, for that, I want to say thank you to the board for having the vision to get that done. With that being said, I think that's enough for tonight. Any questions you might have?
So Marty, is that the position that's advertised?
No, this position has not been advertised yet.
Okay, and so how much was that grant?
It is $40,000 a year for 2 years.
Thank you. Great work.
Awesome. All right. So then, next meeting and location?
So the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 14th. The regular meeting will start at 7 p.m. It's located right here at the Lincoln Center. A specific area to be determined. We're working on some logistics up in the boardroom. Once we get that completed, we may be there, we may be here. More to come. I do want to apologize to everybody in the community and the board for our technical issues tonight. We will work through those and get them worked out. We're still trying to iron out all the bugs around, just COVID practice. And I think it's a really good learning opportunity for our board as well and myself. These are some of the challenges that our staff face every day in the new world. So we're not that much different than we're not different at all from what's happening in the schools each and every day. There are challenges. There are audio challenges, hearing through the mask, all of those things. So I think I'm appreciative that this board continues to meet in person to experience those challenges and model the leadership to our entire organization. So, place to be determined, whether it's here up in the boardroom. I'll let you know on that. Next month, we will have a Hamilton Elementary School report, the Student of the Month from Hamilton, the September financial report, enrollment report, athletics and activities report. It will be recognition of National Principal Month, which is October 1st through the 31st. It is also National School Lunch Week, which is October 11th through the 15th. And it's also National School Bus Safety Week, which is October 18th through the 22nd. And those are the items to be covered at our next meeting.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we're going to actually recess back into executive session to discuss with legal counsel litigation or potential litigation and to review the performance of a public employee. There will be no action taken, and I'm going to call the meeting for 1 hour just to cover ourselves. It may not be that long. Then I'll come back in. So with that, we will be adjourning.